Felix, but you're going to have 1 minute, and Mr. Bland is our timekeeper. So once this 1 minute is up, you'll hear that sound. Okay? So let's try to keep it. I know a couple of you need that time. All right. All right. Go ahead. Danny, go ahead, sir.
Well, good evening.
You could sit, right?
Yeah, you got the rest of you guys.
Okay.
Just you stand. Just stand when you're.
Just please stand when it's your time.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As Tony mentioned, my name is Dr. Felix. I've been in Palm Bay for the last 20 years. And this is probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life because my family was growing so fast. Within 2 years, we got 2 babies, and we outgrew my little condo in South Florida. So Palm Bay was the very first, when somebody mentioned Palm Bay, I came here, made Palm Bay home, and it's been one of the greatest decisions I've made. 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, I decided to run for office. I love this community so much, I wanted to give back. Okay, I wanted to give back. I'm very vested in this community. I'm growing my young family here. I just become a grandfather 2 months ago, so I'm very excited. So I certainly want to leave a better place. I don't want to stay on the sideline, just criticize, and then look what could have been done, what could have been done different. I jumped in. I jumped in 2020. I'm so glad I did. Because the alternative wasn't right, and I'm glad I did. I hope I served well in the last 3.5 years.
Each person is standing right there, and we'll get started.
Hi, my name is Dave Rodriguez. I live in Southwest Palm Bay. I decided to become a candidate for seat 5, which is a special election, because I've been here a little over 10 years, and just seeing things that haven't gone on in a city that is growing. I also don't want to just sit back and complain about things not being done. I had several issues with the city, and that's what prompted me to go ahead and take the jump. I am running a grassroots campaign, so it's all new to me. But problems are not new to me in solving them. I find a way to solve problems. If I can't solve them, I work with people to solve them. Okay, we have to start solving problems for our city. We can't just sit back and watch.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Jaffe. I'm born and raised in Broward County. Been in Palm Bay since 2016. I live in Lockmar Estates. I'm a father of 2. Married to my high school sweetheart. We've been together a little over 24 years now. I'm a certified general contractor. I manage a home building company here that builds and scattered lots in Palm Bay. We don't do subdivisions. And I also own a small business, a pool enclosure, outdoor kitchens, patio business that started about 2.5 years ago. With a little over 15 employees. And I'm also a licensed realtor. I'm on a real estate license for 15 years. I specialize in big land deals, commercial leasing, and residential new construction and resales. And been involved in some city boards, county boards, currently planning and zoning. And you feel the same way a lot of other kids feel, like not enough is happening in Palm Bay, can't be that effective on a board. Felt like running city council was the next step. I filed first. I filed last October. I've been working extremely hard ever since that day. And I think the work ethic is shown in the campaigns we're going to get from somebody sitting on the dais. Thank you.
He's been front fast, eh? Good day, good evening. This is Alfie Gari. I've been living here in Palm Bay since 1985. I came to this city. I've been married for over 45 years to my lovely wife. And we got 4 kids. I can proudly say we got 8 because they're all married, and I treat my in-laws just like my own kids. I end up having 31 family members in this city, 13 grandkids. I got 3 businesses. And I think Palm Bay needs to be run like a business. This city is the largest city in the county, and I think it needs to run like a business. We got 900 employees, over 900 employees in the city. And we need to make sure we run the city properly. And I think I need to secure the city, that my kids and grandkids, especially your grandkids, can have a good city to look forward to. We have a lot of things to take care of, especially our infrastructure. It's so important. It's so far behind. I run for mayor in 2020. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eduardo Macaya. I've lived here for 25 years now. I live in Southeast Palm Bay. When I first moved here, I started coaching high school football at Bayside. I've coached several other high schools around here. I had a gym that was open to the public, that was free for the kids in the community. I had a business with over 35 employees here for many years, did a lot of city work, familiar with a lot of city contracts. Basically the reason why I decided to run is all the unmanaged growth. I'd like to have some youth programs, which we have none of. And obviously the problems that we're having with infrastructure right now are a big problem. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Cameron. I have been here for 44 years. I was born and raised here. I worked for the city of Palm Bay for a long time. My father worked for the city of Palm Bay for 30 years. My grandmother worked for the city of Palm Bay for 30 years. I've been around Palm Bay for my whole life. I have been a football coach for West Melbourne football for 22 years. I've been a head coach of football for Pineapple Cove for last year, and this is going to be my second year. My time here in Palm Bay, I've loved it, and I feel that we have a lot of potential that is not being tapped correctly. I feel like our growth needs to be sustained. I think we need to form a self-sustain in Palm Bay, and I think we need to take care of what we have here before we start taking care of things outside of here and the people coming in.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm Chandler Lansman. I'm running for Palm Bay City Council C3. I'm a born and raised Floridian. Joined the United States Navy at 18. I served a combination of active duty and reserve for 11 years. I did 2 overseas tours. After getting out, I got a job working with veterans every day as the veteran coordinator for St. Francis Hospice and Palliative Care. Super proud of everything that I do with them. I've been in Palm Bay coming up on over 3 years, coming up on 4. I love it here, and I'm engaged to a woman who lives here, and we've got 2 amazing stepkids, and we want to have more kids. So I want Palm Bay to be a city that we can be proud to raise a family in, that everybody can be proud to raise a family in. I also proudly go to this church. I'm a member of Grace Bible. I love Pastor Dave Buchanan. There's a few things that are super important for Palm Bay. It's going to be infrastructure. It's going to be enhancing public safety. It's going to be bringing in high-paying jobs, keeping our taxes low. We can do those things, and if we're constantly thinking about how we can make this city a city that you want to raise a family in, we're going to be successful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next is our group has come up with a few questions. After I read each question, each candidate will have 2 minutes to stand, express your views and your position on each of the questions. When your 2 minutes are up, you'll hear that same annoying sound. And we'll go ahead and start. If you have the mic down there, we'll just start there. Okay. So the first part of it is infrastructure and development. Palm Bay is experiencing a rapid growth, and the community is concerned about whether the city's infrastructure can keep pace with the influx of the new residents and businesses. Your question is, if you were elected, what would you do to ensure that the city improves the infrastructure such as roads, widening, traffic congestion, flooding, and stormwater management, and other critical areas? What would you do to pay for these developments, or how would you pay for these developments?
Absolutely. Infrastructure is a day one priority. If I get elected day one, I'm gonna issue guidance to staff, to the city manager. I want a comprehensive infrastructure plan. I want to detail from what's the most important right now, our most critical need down the line. I also want them to identify everything that we have a lot of roads and infrastructure that impacts our city. That's county, state, and federal. We need those identified, not just pushed off to the side, identify which ones of those need addressing. I think in the past we haven't had the best relationship with our county, our state, and our federal government. I've got great relationships with the county, with our state legislators, and with our new congressman that will be elected in November, Mike Karanopoulos. So when we can identify all these areas, I'll be very happy to go work with them and be a team player and get, the federal and the state and the county to come together to fix their parts. And then, like I said, once we identify our city parts, go in and tackle them one at a time. The growth has been rapid since COVID, and we haven't been able to keep up with the infrastructure. We need to advance that infrastructure, get caught up with where we're at. Total growth is not going to cease. We're going to continue to have growth. All right, but we've got to be able to have an infrastructure that's going to meet that growth. And that goes back to what I was talking about with Palm Bay being a place where you can raise a family. If you get stuck in traffic so long that it takes you an hour to get to work and an hour to get home because we don't widen the roads, that's 2 hours you don't get to spend with your kids. All right, we need our parents at home, spending time with their kids. That's what's super important. You want to know that your house isn't going to flood. You want to know that your utilities are going to work. We live in a first world city, and that, we're provided for. But again, we've had that rapid growth, so we need to identify our key areas that we need to start with, just start chopping away at them.
Thank you.
I'm going to agree with a little bit of what he said, but I'm going to go back to something that I've spoke of a whole lot, and that's impact fees. Our impact fees have not been addressed in 12 years. And I'm not even going to talk about how much we're charging, because right now our maximum, I think we should do the 50% that we can do. By law, they have a law, you can only go up so much. And you only address it, I think it's either every 3 or 4 years you can address it. We have not addressed it in 12 years. Now, as of right now, I think how it's set up, we're giving too much money to Parks and Recreation, and we're not giving the money to police, fire, and roads and bridge. So I think once we start touching on that, we're going to be able to provide a lot more money for infrastructure, for safety, and whatnot. He did touch on stormwater. One thing I'm going to touch on is when GDC came in here and they made our developments, they made the swales to where they are designed to hold water. When we have new engineers come in and they try to make it to flow water, they're not designed to flow water and hold water. So the designs have to be done all at once or not at all. What we need to do is take in the fact that we do have a water retention swale system. And we need to bring in somebody that knows how to bring us from that to what we need. As of right now, I also think we need to have better relationships with Melbourne-Tillman and St. John's Water Management, because when we fill up the water here and you go to Melbourne-Tillman, all the Melbourne-Tillman canals are full as well. So we need to figure out where this water needs to go. Me, myself, St. John's owns a lot of land out at the compound. I believe we should make a deep water pond out there. So when we do fill up, Melbourne-Tillman has a watershed to go to. My backside on that, touching on stormwater, here in Bayside, the golf course is your stormwater watershed. I don't think it's being maintained. So that's another thing I want to touch on as well.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So basically, I'm going to go back into what Hammer was talking about. So yeah, there is a rule that we can't pick up the impact fees for a certain percent within 4 years. So you can only bring it up 50%. So I think that initially impact fees should be raised to 25%, and some of these builders need to be bonded so that they pay their fair share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we got a few questions. One, I think the infrastructure, as I said before when I talked first, infrastructure is one of the key things in the city. The city has grown so much since 2020. 40 to 50,000 more residents came to this city, and no improvement was done on the infrastructure. And I think the housing market needs to stop tomorrow. Needs to stop completely and start fixing the infrastructure. We can grow, we can do building, but it needs to be commercial. Any commercial business offers 5 to 10 employees in our city. We can grant them a permit to build. But every other building needs to stop in the city because the infrastructure is so far behind. We need roads, we need sidewalk, we need street lights, we need better response time. The response time we have in our city with safety, fire, and police is 18 to 20 minutes. and the average response time in the country is 8 to 10 minutes. So we're way behind infrastructure. The infrastructure, we can get it to be done. The moderator was saying about financing these things. The budget needs to be prioritized in a better way. 27% of our city budget will go into the public works department. And I disagree. That's why I said our city needs to run like a business. There are certain departments in our city can make money, especially the public works department. And these funds, the budget is going in this direction where it's going to, utilities, it's going to public works, and not doing the infrastructure and the safety of our city. And we need to budget it in a better way that it can make more sense. The infrastructure is so far behind, I hate to even think about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the city council actually currently has a meeting coming up on September 26th to vote on an impact fee increase. Transportation impact fees are actually above the state statute up to $4,000 due to its language and statute that allows extenuating circumstances. Police and fire are also going up as well, and those fees cannot be changed every 4 years. Is the only time you can do so. I'm an advocate that impact fees need to be increased. The stigma that says that developers pay for it is actually the end user that pays for it when they purchase someone's property they're buying. But being that the fact that they're 12 years old, they certainly need to be increased. I'm very frustrated with that. Over 1,000 employees the city has and a payroll of over $2.5 million a week. I think there's some huge inefficiencies that are going on. Regarding traffic, I'm frustrated. We're at, I have a 2-3 mile drive and it takes me 20 minutes to get to work in the morning. I think we need an intelligent traffic system where the lights communicate with each other. I know they started implementing it, but it's not happening fast enough. But if you're at a red light, it turns green, and you immediately hit the next red light, those lights aren't talking to each other. And that's a huge problem that we have in the city. Flooding is a huge concern. Melbourne Tubman Canal handles most of our drainage. They're poorly under budget. They don't have enough money to function properly. I don't know what the solution to that looks like. It's probably a state legislation issue. But along with Chandler, I have very, very strong relationships with county commissioners as well as state legislators, and that's where we need to get the money from. Most of our major roads in Palm Bay are county-controlled roads. So, we pay impact fees, transportation fees, but the county dictates when those roads are actually going to be updated and approved. And Malabar is going to be hugely expensive because we got that major drainage canal that runs along the north side of Malabar Road. So St. John's Heritage Parkway should be a focus of expansion. I drive out there, it's a shame to see that many cars sitting in the traffic. And, I'm not a fan of staying in the Melbourne building, but I think we need to stop the large subdivisions that are going out west.
Thank you.
So I'm going to talk real fast, and I should make it my 2 minutes. Infrastructure is everybody's saying infrastructure. But what we need to do is we need to hold people accountable. If you're going to come in and start building, you're going to start contributing to infrastructure. Okay, you're not just going to build a home and get your pocket full of money and go. That's why I agree with bonds. Okay, I just had my hit list. I'm a hated person by one realtor now because he looked at my Instagram and I talked about stuff. But he told me he's 30 years here, but he's in favor of infrastructure, rebuilding it, but he's not done anything. I'm not responding to him. He wants to watch what I'm doing and see what's going on. He can keep following me. The waterway management. We had 2 weeks ago yesterday that 2.5-hour rain. Our neighborhood has never flooded. We had 8 inches. It's because of all this building. They blocked all the waterways up, and then the city does not have the equipment. They have one ditch digger to come out and dig, but they don't do that all the time. So everything's overgrown. You drive now, it's all overgrown. There's water everywhere. How to pay for it? Like I heard, the payroll is ridiculous. Our payroll their payroll looks like a major city that's improving and taking steps every day and every month to move forward. We have crazy. I looked at it on the website, the salaries. So that's how we pay for it. What I would do is if I got elected, I would work with the other commissioners or the council members, come in and do an audit. We need to find out where this money is at, because right now it looks like if you pull that website up, it's going in their pockets. It's not going to what we need. It's not going to stop this housing boom
Coming over here from Southwest Palm Bay, I'm only like 3 miles away. I counted 50 brand new houses. Of those 50 houses, probably a third of them are empty. Probably of that third, there's some that are just shells and grass is growing. So they come in and they start building, they don't do anything. It's clogging everything up. Thank you.
Thank you.
The advantage or disadvantage, I'm the only elected person on this stage. Now, there's a lot of things that's been said, but let's talk about facts, right? All these gentlemen still on the sideline. So let me say a few things that are fact and fictions. Let's just establish that the majority of what's been said, they're not quite right, okay? Bear in mind, my friends, as well, you're only one vote. You're not gonna go in and fix everything. That's reality. But what I can tell you, this council that I'm part of, we've done a lot of work. We've improved a lot, make a lot of improvement. Today, the road runs moving very fast and very, very, very smoothly. We are over 55%. Now, every single inch of roadways in Palm Bay won't be paved over the next 4 years. Now, goes back to 2016. But this was under budget. That's why we are short. There's a shortfall of about $50 million. But we will get that taken care of. But our commitment to the citizens of Palm Bay that we will pave all 800 miles of roads and it will be done. We'll figure out the way to come with the money. The idea of there's corruption, I think I've heard that. This is not correct. We did a pay study. Yeah, we can agree to disagree. I'm not here to defend staff, but we have professionals. We compare this, the pay study came back. That's what it was adjusted to just recently. So then again, we can agree to disagree on that. I wanted to address that because it's not fair. I will not accept the fact that, the word corruption is being thrown around against all staff. They are paid professionals. We have to pay them accordingly in comparison to same size cities. As far as infrastructure,
Thank you, everyone. Public safety and crime. Residents have voiced concerns about rising crime rates in certain areas of the city, particularly regarding the increase in homicide, home invasions, drug crimes, and weapon violations. Your question is, what are your plans for enhancing law enforcement and community safety to ensure a secure environment for all Palm Bay residents? You can start.
So let me say to begin that we don't really have a crime in comparison. When we compare size, same size, similar size cities all throughout the nation or the state of Florida, we don't have a crime problem. What we have is the majority of especially the latest event that took place. It's a lot of young people, unfortunately, due to a lack of parenting, and you've seen a lot of the crimes are being committed by young, teenage kids. What we need to implement, I believe one of my colleagues up here said, we need to implement more youth activities, youth programs, and we've been having those discussions. Having more facilities, city facilities available for youth program, after school program, how we can get our young people on a path of success, create more jobs, implement things like junior jobs to create opportunity through city and through city hall, have them to come and be able to serve or work, create summer job for them. I think the majority of our problem, I want to establish that in comparison, when you look at per capita, we don't necessarily have a crime issue in Palm Bay. We are proud to what we invest into our city police. Right now we have a very, very good city police. Yes, we're still behind in terms of number of officers per resident, but we are working on that. Working on that to make sure they do get what they need to be able to continue serving our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
So crime and safety. This thing called the compound. I mean, with due respect, that's where you hear about a lot of crime because kids have nothing to do. When the sun goes down, the trouble goes up. Okay. I think some of the programs we need to get kids involved are, and I've read that there's a coffee with the cops. So, you know what? I'm not sending my kid to drink coffee. When I was in school, we had officer-friendly program. We would have them go around and talk about what you should do. Now, yes, we shouldn't put the burden on our law enforcement to teach, children or families what to do. That comes about the parent also. We need to get them involved. So as far as the crime and safety, we need to build a better relationship, community, with the law enforcement department. That's.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I agree with Eduardo about youth programs. I've coached Palm Baby's Little League for 8 seasons. I also coached soccer. I think spending time with youth is extremely important. I think because things are so expensive this day and age, you got households that you got 2 parents working, you got divorced parents, you got split households, kids aren't being supervised. So I'm a huge advocate for youth programs. We have some incredible facilities, Tony Rosa, at Whitlock. They're not being utilized enough. And I think a huge investment needs to take place in those facilities. Deputy Mayor Felix mentioned the budget shortfall. We have a huge budget issue. I think raising the 3% cap is something that should be considered. It was originally put in place a few years ago because they thought the city management couldn't control their spending, but we're leaving huge tax revenue in our pockets by having the 3% cap. Palm Bay is one of the only cities in the whole state with a cap of 3%. The state is 10%. And you don't know what a cap means. All the new projects that are built in the past year, you get to capture that tax revenue in this full amount, 1 year only. And then next year they set the new millage rate, and you don't get to capture that revenue. That's why you see an undesignated budget on the general fund for about $40 million. So I think breaking the cap would be something that could help infrastructure, help police, fire, security. I think our police chief's doing an amazing job. I think I lived in Fort Myers when I was in college. I remember my first year there was 31 murders by the end of January. So comparatively speaking, nobody wants to talk about murder, but I feel like Deputy Mayor Felix stated that, it could be worse. They even talked about, Palm Bay's Little League. There was a gentleman that was arrested. He's not really a gentleman because he killed somebody over the weekend. I coach him. It can happen anywhere. I think the churches aren't doing enough in our community. I think there should be more church outreach. I want to Centerpoint Church. I'm very active in that church. Yep.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick break. I see a new candidate just stepped in. I want to give you an opportunity to stand up. Give us your name, where you live, and why you're running for the seat.
Hey, how you guys doing? Sorry for being late. 25 minutes to go 7 miles. But we know how that goes, right? Hi, I'm Paul Galbraith. I'm running for Palm Bay City Council seat 5. I reside at 1286 Hampton Avenue, northwest, right here in Palm Bay, of course. My campaign is really simple. It's about people, purpose, and progress. People, the city should work for the people of Palm Bay. Purpose, those are our goals, what we want to achieve. And progress, those are kind of breaking down those bigger goals into smaller ones that we can actually achieve to move toward those bigger goals. Not sure how much time everybody had, but I'll just keep it simple. I'm sure we'd have plenty to talk about. So, again, Paul Galbraith, hi.
Thank you. Go ahead and give it next in order. We'll just continue on with you, okay? Ready? Timekeeper.
Yes, in my opinion, where safety is concerned and kids, the kids today, we are in a different age. They say technology has been increased. These kids nowadays, I think from about 20 years, say 20 years, kids 20 and younger, they text in the same room. They don't learn to socialize. And this is a big problem in our country and maybe in the world, but we can talk about our country, our state, and our city of Palm Bay. I'm on the Park and Rec Advisory Board, and they have a lot of youth programs and camping and all these things. Back in the days, they used to have 200 kids at a summer camp. Now we barely have 50 because nobody interested to socialize. So what happened is that they don't develop that law. So we have to, I think we need to improve our parks, more modernized facilities, and can encourage the kids to get out and do more. We gotta put out our culture, our own culture back in the days when we were younger, and they learn something that have greater value. Too much texting and stuff like that. The safety in our city basically will get worse, and we have to pay very much attention with this development we have. We have people moving in our city from all over the country, and this will really make crime get out of hand. Our police are doing a good job. I think they're doing a great job, and they get some update equipment the other day. They have cameras, body cameras, and all this. So I think we'll definitely curb the situation if we just pay attention. And again with the budget.
Thank you.
Wow, this is my subject. Too bad it's just 2 minutes. But anyways, I don't think we have a crime problem. I think we have a boredom problem because these kids have absolutely nothing to do. I don't know if you guys are aware, but we have absolutely zero, nothing. We don't have a single program in all of Palm Bay for kids, sports, anything. All the sports programs are paid for. You're going to go to Palm Bay Football League, it's $180 for the season. A lot of people don't have that kind of money. I don't see why the city gives the city of Melbourne $40,000 a year so they can run their PAL program, but yet we don't have a PAL program here in Palm Bay. So, I mean, when you have programs like that and things that are available to like low-income parents or single-family homes and things of that nature, it takes care of a lot of the crime, believe it or not. I know all about crime. I'm from South Florida, inner city, Miami-Dade County. So I would know, and I grew up in the 80s. I know what crime looks like, and we don't have, crime's going to happen everywhere. But like I told a lot of my parents when I was coached kids just a couple times, because I'm a little harsh, I guess. But I told them this. Either I'm going to be his daddy, or the cops are going to be his daddy. And they're too sensitive. They got to learn what it's like to know you can't play, you didn't earn it, and, things of that nature. You know exactly where I'm coming from. And that's what's wrong with this generation right now, at least what I'm seeing. And that's why youth programs are so important, because I'm going to make the police department's job a lot easier. And we need to have something here for these kids. Because at the present time, like I said, there's absolutely nothing. You look at Southeast Palm Bay, here, Bayside, the football league that they have here at Bayside High School, that's about all there is. There's absolutely nothing. And it's baseball, all of it.
Thank you. You're right. You needed more time.
Oh.
Let me go ahead and you weren't here for the question. So, public safety and crime. Residents have voiced concerns about rising crime rates in certain areas of the city, particularly regarding the increase in homicides, home invasions, drug crimes, and weapon violations. Your question is, what are your plans for enhancing law enforcement and community safety to ensure a secure environment for all Palm Bay residents?
Yeah, 2 minutes, I don't know. Let's see. I think it comes down to, again, priorities, right? So, on your list of priorities, is this at the top? If it is, then you have to fund it appropriately, right? So if we're looking at our police and our fire and our emergency personnel, we need to make sure that they have the tools that they need to do the job. You set the expectations for these departments, you fund them, so they have no excuses if they don't meet those expectations. So if we're talking about kids and this generation of kids, feel kind of bad for them. I was growing up. I was born in '77. I was growing up, 80s and 90s. My parents weren't home. They were working. My dad worked 3 until midnight. My mom, she worked whatever shift she could pick up. That didn't mean I resorted to crime. I mean, the community was part of that. My parents, they raised me right. So if we want to talk about, the kids of this generation, my kids grew up, we hardly knew our neighbors. When I was growing up, my neighbors were like other parents to me. So you don't fund that. That's more of a community. But I knew if I was going to get in trouble by one parent, by the time I got home and my mom and dad heard about it, I was probably told what I did wrong 5 times. My kids, different story, barely went off my street. I would go up and down all around town on my bike. They barely left the street. But that didn't mean the minute they were bored, they were out committing crime. It comes to parenting. It comes to organizations. If we feel as a city that we can do more to help in that aspect, then it has to be shown in our budgets and how we're using our money. So if you want something done, you got to set that expectation. Then you got to give it the resources, the funding, and then you hold people accountable for that.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to touching about impact fees. Our impact fees have not been going to police and fire properly. Parks and Recreation gets if you multiply the police department budget or the impact fees for it, it's maybe 6 times more for Parks and Recreation than for police. I'm going to say it's $300 compared to $1,800. On the backside of that, one of the things that I did like was the YMCA, and it's not just something I'm saying. I've actually reached out to YMCA and I've met with the general director of YMCA, Mr. Salazar, and I've actually got him introduced with Mr. Felix, and I'm trying to work on bringing them here. Another thing I'm trying to bring is the BMX park to the compound. Give kids something to do. As a football coach, I do see a lot of the problem is these kids, once they're not on the football field, they're at home. And if they don't have anything to do at home, they don't have a very good upbringing, they're not being taken care of at home. A lot of it is these kids. It's not adults out there going and checking your doors to see if they're locked. This is kids out here doing this. And I think we are working on getting our impact fees assessed and are getting the officers. At one point, I want to say we were 39 officers, that we needed filled. And I think a lot of the things that are happening aren't going to be more officers on the road. I think it's these kids need more things to do from us. And I think the officer outreach, as well as the PAL League. The PAL League is amazing for us. When I was growing up, a lot of the kids that I went to school with wore PAL shirts to school. I haven't seen a PAL shirt in 10 years. And that's sad. That's sad. It needs to change. But I think the city is making steps in the right direction on fixing what is wrong. We just need to get up there and continue the efforts that are being brought forward as of right now.
Thank you.
Hey, so I agree with, a couple things Hammer said about, he's got some great ideas on bringing some stuff in for our youth to do. I agree that we could talk all day about how we could impact our youth and everything else, but we're a city government. We take money out of your pocket, you don't really have a choice, and then we decide how we're going to spend it. It's not our job to take your money and decide what sport and after school program and everything else that we're going to spend your money on. That's for nonprofits, for churches, for the schools. If you want to have an impact on that, that's great, I agree. I'm trying to bring a JROTC program to Odyssey Charter School. But as a city, we have a role and responsibility. That role is our law enforcement and our fire department. That needs to be our #1 priority. If we're going to agree that we're going to have a government, whether it's federal, state, local, their #1 priority is the safety of their citizens. If you're at the federal level, it's the military. If you're at the local level, it's police and fire. We need to be focusing on our police department and our fire department, making sure that we're paying them properly so that they want to stay and we can attract good officers, making sure that we're giving them the training so that they want to stay and enhance their career, making sure that they've got the equipment to do their job, making sure that we're getting these new fire stations, and some of that's happening. And Councilman Felix has touched on that. I was with him at as we were opening up a new fire station. We did a groundbreaking ceremony. So it's not like we're not doing anything. But I do want to say that's our priority as a city. It's not youth programs. Those are great things. You should go out and donate to those. You should go out and have an impact on those. But as a city government, if I have to take your money and spend it, I'm going to do it on what our roles and responsibilities are. Our police department, our fire department. And let me tell you, crime's not happening in the compound. It's happening in Lockmar at 11 o'clock on Saturdays. It's happening at baseball fields. I'm not going to accept that, well, we don't have as much crime in South Florida. No crime is acceptable. We need to make sure we're addressing it. We need to have an impact. Let's go out and have relationships with the county sheriff, in some instances, maybe even the federal government, but we need to be focusing in that realm. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's along my roll here. Here we go. Next is going, where's the mic? Okay, perfect. We're going to start with you, okay? Public service and amenities. This is one that's near and dear to my heart. But, go on. The need for improved public services and amenities such as parks, recreational facilities, and community centers is a constant theme among Palm Bay residents. Your question is, what is your vision for enhancing the city's recreational offerings such as parks, green spaces, ensuring adequate resources for crucial community services? We spoke about it a little bit. But would this include your commitment to restoration of Major's Golf Course, a central and crucial issue for the Palm Bay Lakes residents?
All right, great question. So, as far as Parks and Recs goes, despite some of the things I just said, I'm not anti-Parks and Recs, but we do need to prioritize, right? So like I just said, the priority needs to start with public safety, it needs to be infrastructure, and then instead of raising taxes to get everything that we want, then we need to go down the list, and then if we have money left over and things like that, we start looking at Parks and Recs and improving playgrounds and stuff like that. What we don't want to do is start with our wants, which I believe are a lot to do with Parks and Recs, and then work our way down to our needs, and then go, well, we can't fund our needs, so we're going to have to raise the taxes on everybody. We can't afford, the average family can't afford to have their taxes raised right now in this economy. So, I am pro Parks and Recs. I've got 2 stepkids, they love going to the park, we love doing it, I want to support Parks and Recs. And then, we can talk about the majors. That absolutely we need to do something there. And again, if we're prioritizing stuff, to me that's a number. That's going to be a high priority in that area. So that's where I stand on Parks and Recs.
Thank you.
I'm going to kind of go back to what he said as well. I could go on for about an hour about the majors, about how I feel about the majors. I have been extremely vocal even before I started running for this. Before it even closed, I offered to give her free marketing. I offered to do a lot of things for her to stay open, and it just wasn't happening. At the time, the city did not pull the trigger on taking care of the majors when we should have. As of right now, I do feel like the majors is more of a liability to affecting the community than anything. As of right now, they had no problem taking land from you for a road. But they are affecting 4,000 Bayside residents with not only your property tax or your property values, but where's the water going to go? If you make one little change to it, one little change, it can affect this whole place. As in Parks and Rec, I do believe we should have a lot more recreation stuff, and I don't think we have a lot of volunteers or services for kids. Like I said, I volunteer for the school to coach football. I don't know why we can't get something like that, a volunteer league of some sort, and I think we should be doing a lot more for the kids, as in Parks and Recreation. And as of, I think we just lost our recreation director, but we do need to work on getting experienced people that know what our city is going through, instead of just somebody that's really good at communicating. We need to bring in quality employees that know how to handle the things that we're going through and the growth that we're going through. Because this isn't something Steve from down the road that's worked in the parks for a few years knows how to handle. This is something we need people that are experienced in the field that can give better judgment than I can, that anybody up here can. Because nobody up here is Parks and Recreation certified from New York City. People don't understand the growth.
Thank you.
So I'm probably going to sound like a broken record here, but again, it goes back to that purpose, right? How high are we rating Parks and Rec? And what is the purpose? What does the city want? I think the Mayor's Golf Course is a totally separate issue. when it comes to, hey, what are we going to do with Parks and Rec versus what are we going to do with the Majors Golf Course? I think they're totally separate. Parks and Rec, again, we have to as a community come together and figure out what path do we want to go with Parks and Rec. Do we think that we need to offer more opportunities? What we need to do is, as a council, get together and figure out what way we want to go. And hopefully we're talking to you guys to figure that out. And then we go to city management to figure out how do we get there. So, we go to city management, they're the people that are supposed to know what they're supposed to be doing and all the money and all that fun stuff. So let's put it in their hands. Again, this is where we want to go, this is our goal, how do we get there? You tell me how to get there. And then we approve it, yes or no. On Majors Golf Course, boy, I've heard so many different stories about this in the history about, hey, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But we can't go back to time and buy it for $1 million. So, I've sat there in the city council meetings where people have came up and spoke about it. It's definitely an issue, and I do think that it needs more of the city focus instead of just hey, we're working on it, we're trying to talk to them, and come back next in 2 weeks to hear about it again, and then we never hear about it unless you guys show up. So there definitely needs to be a plan. We need to make sure that we're communicating that with the people in the area, Bayside Lakes, especially you guys, and all the red shirts that come to the city council meetings. We should be working with you to figure out what we're going to do.
Months ago or something like that. So obviously they got money. I think that golf course will pay for itself in 10 years. No doubt about it. Now, going back to Parks and Recs, it basically boils down to the mismanagement of funds again. I mean, I'm sorry to mention this, but our director, this is on his 3rd DUI. That's why he's no longer with us. So obviously he's not doing much but drinking. Parks and Recs needs people that want to have programs for kids and want to help, just like PAL. YMCA is great. Boys Club, all that is great. But I don't see why the city of Palm Bay can't do it with an in-house. A PAL program with the chief would be great, and if Parks and Recs is getting so much money, where's it going? I don't know where it's going. I don't see it. There's a boxing gym. The gym I had was a boxing and MMA gym. 10 years I managed that free for the kids around here. They got a boxing program at the rec center. It's in a city facility, and it's not ran by the city of Palm Bay. It's ran by a profit guy who's making money off these kids. Picks and chooses who can be out there, who can't be out there. So there we go. There's plenty that the city can do to help kids out without raising taxes, because obviously they got a large budget. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Definitely, I'm going to start with parks. As I said before, I'm on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and I hate to think that all parks don't get enough attention. As one of my colleagues here said, they got a lot of money donated to parks. But what is being done with our parks? Our parks been outdated so bad, and we even close a lot of our parks in our city over a period of time. And these need to be upgraded. And maybe if they're upgraded, the kids may be attracted to it a little better, because the kids nowadays is not like when we were growing. We use anything to play. Nowadays kids, they are intelligent because they are more advanced in technology. The parks in Fred Popper Regional Parks, but 12 years ago, we were going to put one of these RV park down here. We're going to do an extension. It never happened. And we got some grants and money have to go back because the project didn't go through in time. Things like these happen, and I think our park definitely needs to be upgraded. If our park going to offer recreation for our kids and even others, the other day we have a big issue with pickleball program. These are stuff that can make our elderly people or young people, everybody enjoy themselves, and we have a problem putting it in place. Where the golf course is concerned, this is a shame because our mayor keeps saying that we are the best city in the world. But why can't we maintain this golf course? After these Bayside residents and bought their homes in this year because of the golf course, need to be focused on. Thank you.
I'm a fan of regional parks. I think when we have these smaller scattered parks, they're harder to maintain. I do think they're important, but I'm a fan of the regional parks. You know, a friendly park during the week, you can't find a baseball field or a football field not used. The cheerleaders scattered all over the central field. The basketball courts are full, and the tennis courts, pickleball are full. You know, Fred Poppy gets used weekly by softball teams. I think there's another need for a Southeast Regional Park. I think there's a study taking place now for Parks and Recs that will determine that, and there has to be like land acquisition. But those are all just the steps and phasing and planning. Those decisions need to happen today so we can have the benefit of it later. You know, $1,800 per resident seems high, but everything's expensive. You know, the impact fees across the board are low. And again, going back to breaking the cap, I think we free up a tremendous amount of money that we're leaving on the table that can fund all these underserved areas in our general budget and all these different other areas. You know, I play golf. I played golf at Century Country Club yesterday, and you know, I'm just playing at a major golf course. And it's unfortunate what happened. I'm a property rights advocate, and I feel like if the city exhausts all the resources possible, then I think they need to consider an eminent domain process. You know, I think that's the final and best last offer that the city would have to look at. But she's being unreasonable. She wants a tremendous amount of money for an undervalued piece of property. And, you know, if I sat on council, I would never approve a housing subdivision there. And to me, it's not valued at that price. It's valued at a dilapidated golf course, and that's what she should get. And then there should be some partnerships like Alcarian did or Spencer Collin, where the land is now not taxed, and you bring a private property or a private operator in, those golf courses are actually profitable. Government, when it costs something, it's not profitable. You bring private enterprise in, it's profitable.
Thank you.
So when I decided that I was going to run, the Palm Bayers sent out 10 questions. And a lot of the questions are exactly or very close to being what's asked here. One of those was the amenities in the parks. What I think we need for our youth is mentorship programs. We also need to build, we have the land, we have space, we have the compound. And to disagree with what I heard about it's not the compound creating problems, there have been murders in the compound. One is enough, okay? And it is happening in other places. But I think what we need to do is we need to build like a super park, a mega park, with a bike course, skateboard park, racquetball, pickleball, tennis courts. If you go in South Florida, and I didn't mention this, I am from South Florida, on any given night during the week, you see every park lit up. Okay, that means there's things going on. You have baseball. Fred Poppy, I see lights there. But I don't ever see them on if I go through in the evening because there's nothing for them to do or nobody's stepping up to mentor our youth. And if they don't have anything to do, and like Mr. Alfie said, we're in a day and age of digital. Okay, we're in technology. If you don't interest them in something, they're going to sit there on their phones, on their computers. So we do need to build better parks, make it a super park, and we need mentorship. You know, like the POW program, the Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers. You know, people would step up. Nobody's asking for money to do it, but if they see that it's going to make an impact on the youth in our community, I think that is going to be a big step towards directing them on the right path. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm the only one on the platform here that can speak from the standpoint of fact. Right, a lot of things being said. I know there's a lot of wishing. The city would do this or that or the other. Let me speak about let's start with Bayside. I'm one of these affected resident. I live right on the T14. So I used to be able to look and at from my backyard, from my back patio, looking at a beautiful landscape, manicured piece of property. I'm not saying that. I'm directly impacted. So you all already know how I feel about that. So there's effort put forth Mike mentioned about property right. Property rights are important. She has right as well. But what I can assure you, as long as I'm on council, not a piece of property will be built on that golf course. We need to figure out a way. We need to figure out a way to work together to bring something forward. Yeah, the city did have an opportunity. Mike mentioned earlier, $1.4 million. We could have purchased that property, but that's back in 2015. That has nothing to do with our administration. I can tell you, we would pull the trigger if it was this time of day, but that was back in 2015. I just want to make sure that is mentioned. Now, in terms of when a family is moving to a community, a new community, 3 things they look at: public safety, recreation, right? Park and recreation, and jobs. Okay, this community, I've served on the Park and Recreation Board for over 8 years. I was the longest member that served on that board. So I'm a big fan. I do support, and like what's being said here, it is important. It is critical. Top three. That's facts. Okay? So it is important to invest in our recreation. We talked about our kids. Keep them occupied, keep them busy, and also our seniors as well. To the community, pickleball. So these are discussions we're having to build 16 pickleball park working. I feel like I'm short-changed.
You get to talk next. Okay, we have one more question, and we're going to turn it over. Is there questions out of the audience? Let me ask that now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, plenty.
Okay, just raise your hand if you got questions.
Plenty.
Okay, so we got one more question that our group came up with, and we're gonna go through that. We don't want to keep you here at midnight because these guys you touched on a lot of things that we've already we're looking at. So you guys have been very complete in your answers, so I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think 1 minute will be done? We're going to be talking about economic development. 1 minute?
No.
You need 2? Okay, I'm trying to get these guys home early. 2 minutes? 2 minutes. Okay, here we go. So let me do the question first. Economic development. Palm Bay needs to attract new businesses and industries to create job opportunities and boost the local economy. Your question is, what are your plans for promoting economic growth and devising the local business and business landscape beyond traditional retail and services?
Thank you so much, Tony. Let me tell you what we did. Our administration, working with my colleague, currently on the council. In the history of the city, this is the very first time we have such an aggressive administration that create programs to go after businesses. In 2021, I was one to suggest that we do a workshop, economic development workshop, and invite all stakeholders and to discuss opportunity. What do you want from us? So what came out of that workshop in 2021 was creating programs to attract new businesses, like tax abatement, okay, facade grant to improve the appearance of your business, to attract new customers. And this is just to say the 2. We came out with quite a few programs, and we budget accordingly to support these programs. And I can tell you today, I'm so proud to say, our tax abatement program alone created 3,000 jobs, over $318 million in capital investment. Wolf Valley created over 75 jobs, currently running. We have 2 programs being built at Harris, L3 Harris. So those are anticipated jobs in the last 3 years. So I'm very proud of that. And we are continuously working on different programs and budget activities, puts money aside to attract and to create those businesses, to create those jobs. 3,000 jobs have been created in the last 3.5 years, anticipated jobs, and 318 million. So I'm very proud of that.
Thank you. Did you see I was asking them if they could just do it in 1 minute, and they all said, no way. Those are politicians. All right, thank you.
We're getting better as we go on.
Yeah.
So economic development, what I would like to see in Palm Bay, because I've been driving around the past 2 days, putting signs out still. Yeah. But I've seen a lot of buildings closed down. I've seen a Wendy's shut down. I've seen this shut down. I just heard, not just heard, I think it was 2 months ago, there was a restaurant locally called Wagon Wheel. He finally shut his doors. I guess it was after 40, 45 years. What I think we need to do is we need to get more smaller businesses in along with those larger ones. And Wayne, how you do that, the mom and pop businesses, get the SBA involved. Get them to where they can get those loans to open a business. Create some jobs here and there. The more we have coming in that way, I think we can be a better thriving community because there's just not much going on. Like I said, there's a lot of empty buildings. I think what we can do is purchase those or not purchase them, offer discount, not discounts, but tax breaks. If somebody wants to come in and open a business, it shouldn't be astronomical for them to dish out their pocket just to be able to make some of that money back. So the things that aren't being used, that are standing, we should be able to give back to the people who want to come in and open a little business or any type of business. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's too hard to do business in Palm Bay. I started my full-fledged business. I needed a warehouse space. Number one, I couldn't find one in Palm Bay, so I decided I was going to operate it out of my house and fabricate everything on site. I went to go get my business tax receipt and pack it to become a business in Palm Bay. It was this thick. I went to West Melbourne. It was one sheet of paper. I signed a lease on a building the next day. And my business has been up and running now for 2.5 years. Development projects. You want industrial. It takes 2 years just to get a pad ready. You got to purchase land. You got to go through due diligence. You got to close on it. And then you gotta build it. It takes 1 year just to get all site plan approval and stormwater. It's absolutely outrageous. So if Palm Bay wants industrial growth, we need pad-ready sites. I like to see possibly a partnership with Space Florida for the compound. Space Florida is an amazing organization that can streamline permitting. They only focus on high technology, all the widget makers. I think Palm Bay has a space for space, and we should be focusing on that. That should be a slogan that we should use. Why should everybody in Palm Bay drive an hour north to SpaceX when they can stay here and work here? Another problem we have, if we stop all construction in Palm Bay, that's where all blue collars work. We're going to have a huge unemployment problem. We don't need that. So we need diversity, we need a diverse economy, we have no tourism here. We have a guy that wants to build a marina on Turkey Creek. He can't get permits. The city needs to be helping this guy create a downtown area. He already bought the land from Palm Bay at a discount. It's been sitting for 2 years. He's been quietly acquiring land all up and down US 1 for this massive project. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous, but he can't get all the permits he needs, and Palm Bay needs to help him with that. Which side do we have?
22 seconds.
And just overall streamline the permit process. I attend Center Point Church. My background's construction. We want to do an expansion. Pastor said, hey, can you help us with this? Schedule a meeting with the city of Palm Bay. 35 people wrote a reply email back to me. At the pre-application meeting, there was 15 people on the call. If I was running a small business, I'll be looking at the dollars on that call. It costs over $1,500 for that 1 hour phone call.
Thank you.
Economic development. That's a huge one, and we need to focus on it a little bit more. And it starts from infrastructure. We got 2 Amazon buildings in Brevard County, Amazon warehouse. One by O'Galley and Sauna Road, and one by Grissom Parkway in North Cocoa. This is the biggest city in Brevard. And we have more land space more than anything else in this city. And we didn't get the opportunity to put an Amazon warehouse here. And one of my colleagues was saying something about
brain freeze.
no, down nearby
Compound.
compound. Nobody compound. Right? And you know what? These places are there, but if the infrastructure is not there, because to build a warehouse, for instance, just a warehouse or a big commercial business, you have to have water supply. Water supply is the key for a warehouse, because if a fire breaks in, that thing, you have to have a good water supply to put that fire out. So infrastructure is very important in any city to make sure we have commercial growth, because these commercial businesses, they do a lot of investigation thoroughly. They have task force that do research on these cities to make sure they can invest this money in commercial business. So commercial business is one of our main problems in our city. The restaurants is closing, like Wagon Wheel or Wendy's and stuff like this, because we don't have enough people in the city spending in lunchtime. They drive 1 hour to go to their job, so they're not here having lunch. We need a farmer restaurant here.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a little of what I've done here in the past. So I work for All-Star Boxing, Top Rank. I'm a co-promoter on boxing events. And I hosted a whole series of boxing events here at the Tony Rosa Community Center. I think I was like 4 or 5 altogether. WBO title fight, national TV. I've had Mike Tyson out here, Miguel Cotto. And believe it or not, that creates revenue for the citizens and the city. Not only that, it's entertaining for everyone to go. And if you like that sort of thing, you know, two guys beating their heads in. But, you know, it makes money for the citizens and the businesses around here. Well, I haven't been getting too much support for that lately, let's just say. So it hasn't happened in a while. Going back to what Jaffe was saying, it is hard. I had a very large landscaping business. I mean, I did pretty much every county contract from Titusville to South Beaches, City of Melbourne, I mean, a lot. So I had 8 or 9 crews, 35 employees. It was a nightmare finding a place to be. I know we got Kirby Park, we got, you know, right here, right off the floor and stuff, there's some, you know, warehouse space and things like that of that nature right there. And we definitely need more of that. How to get the people in? I guess you got to create some sort of incentives for big businesses to come in, to want to invest money into Palm Bay. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the dollar. So that's about the only thing that I can think of that can bring the people in here to want to have their business here. They're going to need some help from the city if possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to, first let, Councilman Felix, I would have to agree with a lot of what he said. I've seen a lot of the changes that have been made as far as the grants, especially for the beautification of businesses. And even though it pains me to agree with Mr. Jaffe, I have to agree with him as far as the pain of when you're trying to start your own business and you're just trying to find a location. Actually, that's why I was late today. I was at my business, and it's our soft opening, and it's on Palm Bay Road, but I'm in Melbourne, and I get to wave at Palm Bay out my window across the street because there was just no location for my business. We had one Heritage Square, and we were about 6 months behind in developing. So, as Mr. Jaffe was talking about, it goes back to, if we want these things, we want to attract people to these certain, sectors, we need to be ready to go. You're not going to get anybody here, even if you're giving them, great tax abatements, if they're looking at 2 years to go through the whole process, that's just not going to work. So, again, if we're planning, we have compound, we have our comprehensive plan. Again, it's all about that focus. What do you want? Do we want these things coming in? Great, how can we entice them? With my location, how did my property manager get me to go there? It came down to money, and it came down to negotiating. I'm going to come here, where are you going to give me? What am I going to do for you? They remodeled the whole inside for me, so I would go there. So, if they would have done that, then it would have been a different deal. But you're definitely looking at what you want and making plans for that, and then moving forward as quick as you can to make it happen.
Thank you.
I will start this by saying, yes, I'll be here till midnight if you guys would like to talk to me. Stand over here, and anybody has any questions, I got you. Okay, my other thing is, one thing nobody has touched on is how important commercial growth is, because the budget the city operates on depends on us. It doesn't depend on all the commercial growth. The more commercial growth you have, it takes the burden off the residents. Now, I could talk about our commercial growth and what we need to do all night long, but I'm going to tell you an idea I have. One is for, in Palm Bay, our largest paying jobs are Harris. I believe we should work on a downtown district right by Harris. Because you can put a downtown out here, you can put it somewhere else. It's not going to be used during the day like it will at Harris. I've done interviews with the people at Harris. There's 4,800 jobs there, and they have nowhere to go to lunch.
Yeah.
This is a place that their money that is being made in Palm Bay will be spent in Palm Bay. And that's going to get us over the hump, get our millage down for being the highest in the county, and it will start breeding that growth. And they say once you build it, they will come. Well, in 2016, we had them here, and they still want to come to Palm Bay. It's just in 2016, they stopped. We got a new city manager, a new deputy city manager, and the whole momentum that was going forward kind of shifted. A lot of the things that was going forward stopped because Palm Bay did have a lot of corruption. We all know that. We've all been there. I can go on about that forever. But what we need to do is we need to identify our problems, come up with a solution, and move forward. My solution is, I think we should start in the John Conlon area. We should build places for our highest paid people to spend money and get our economy moving. Because that's where it's going to start. And it's going to branch out from there. Also, sorry.
Thank you.
I can go on longer.
We know.
Okay, so I like a lot of the things that Jackie said. You know, from day one, we've really agreed on that. Been this very similar vote. Pretty much everybody that I've talked to, really, from commercial realtors to business owners to, if you don't know, I'm on the board of directors at Odyssey Charter Schools, even us trying to build a new campus in the city of Palm Bay. The complaint I've gotten from every single person is that government inefficiency, bureaucracy is too slow, and even permits are getting lost. So there's a problem there. I've been told by companies that they've been driven away by the city. I mean, that's just unacceptable, so that needs to stop. But another thing is we need to be proactive in bringing these people here. So I'm a member of the Space Force Association. I'm in talks with Space Florida, with the Central Florida manufacturers. We want to identify these good jobs, these companies that are going to have high-paying jobs, and then work with them as a city, see what they need, how they can work with us, and then come in. And a lot of them are willing to come in and help, with an infrastructure project. Some of them are willing to come in and give back to the community, sponsoring a lot of these youth programs, a lot of the things that we talked about earlier that, these donations. So, but it's a matter of communicating and then having a welcoming environment for them to come into. Permitting process being easy. I'm okay with some tax abatement at first. Obviously, a good way to keep our taxes down is by having these, great companies that come in and pay their fair share because they give back a lot to our city. So, those are all really important as far as bringing in jobs. Like I said, my main policy is Palm Bay, the city that you want to raise your family in. And so having a high-paying job in our city where you don't have to commute an hour away, an hour back, that's going to be a key fundamental, to moving forward as a city.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different now. We're going to go to the audience for questions. What we'd like you to do is if you have a specific question for a specific candidate, please call them out, call them up, and then they'll answer it. And we want to get everybody an opportunity to answer one of the questions. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to ask that. Go ahead. So basically the same thing. You'll ask the question. You guys will have 2 minutes to answer. You'll hear the annoying sound again, and then so we can get everybody on there before midnight. So anybody that wants to answer the question, let's go with Robert Stice first. He has to. We'll bring the mic to you, by the way.
Thank you. Robert Stice. I'm in Bayside Lakes. I have a statement and a question. I've been going to city meetings for about 4 years and Donnie's smiling at me because we go around and around sometimes. But there was 119,000 residents when I moved here in 2017. As of a couple months ago, that number is 140,000. My question is that down at Heritage Parkway, where all the new housing development is going in, we had the fire chief state and the current previous fire chief and current fire chief that stated that if there's a fire, it takes 8 minutes for your house to be totally engulfed. what this is all the type of materials that are involved in building a home today. Okay? Now, the fire chief had talked about that it takes 18 to 20 minutes for a fire response down south, and where we're building like crazy. So what I've been hammering for 4 years, and I haven't gotten an adequate response, is what the hell are we doing for infrastructure? When we lack the infrastructure, that we literally put people in danger. Okay, so you got D.O. Horton down there building houses on top of one another. So you get one house on fire, consider this, you got one house on fire, it's engulfed. Okay, and a moderate wind, 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. Now you have several houses on fire. Are we gonna wait on the infrastructure? We're gonna build parks and pickleball courts? I'll end with this. I have a neighbor who took him 30 minutes to go from Bayside Lakes to I-95. So what they do to go to the defense industry is they go down to Heritage Parkway, they go south to get on the highway to go north. This is unacceptable and dangerous. How are you gonna fix it?
Robert, could you pick one of the candidates to answer that question, please?
Can I pick three? Mr. Jaffe, you said.
Mr. Jaffe.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
It's a shame. It's helpful. It's a shame Palm Bay just recently voted on a couple of temporary fire stations. I think it's a sad state where like that's the best we can offer our residents, especially when there's a temporary fire station that's been permanent. It's at Bayside High School. But that's a start. Again, I think the cap is broken. I think our 3% cap is broken. We're leaving a lot of money available for revenue that we don't have. We don't have our disposal. We have a budget shortfall. And without breaking that cap, there's just no way to accumulate those dollars. We have to build those relationships with the county, and we have to get these Babcock Street widened. I mean, that's a county road. There could be possibilities with these larger developments that are coming down south. Sonterra, in lieu of impact fees, you guys pay for all the infrastructure up front. It's a swap. They still pay their final share, but they pay at the beginning, very, very beginning, before they even go vertical on a house. Impact fees are paid the day you pick up your permit. Half to the city, and you got to pay the other half to the county to be able to get your certificate of occupancy. About $24,000 for a house. Our church is going to be about $100,000 for impact fees. So the money's there. It just isn't being used wisely. I think, again, going back to the budget, I think we're heavy on staff. We have a payroll or several $1 million a week. It's a lot because now you're talking pensions, health insurance, vehicles, fuel. It's a lot. If I was running Palm Bay as a business, I would be shutting my doors right now and packing my bags and going home. So I think government inefficiencies, and there's no fix tomorrow. Right? Like, I'm running for a 2-year seat. I hope to make the best decisions on November 5th that we're going to see the results on in 4 years from now. Right?
I'm going to go one back here. I got one back here. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Felix. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think Mr. Jaffe mentioned a few things, but on a point I've got to bring it back to facts. In terms of fire station, we just last week had a groundbreaking Fire Station 7. So that will address the fact what's going on in the northeast of the explosion we had in the northeast. That will address that. The two temporary, we just invested into two temporary stations. These are while we build in the park. So that's what that is. We are very sensitive to the fact that we have had 18 minutes call, and that's not a practice, I must say, Mr. Sykes. That did happen once in the southeast, by Babcock, by the interchange down there. Yeah, that's not a practice, so that's what really, and you can attest to that. I was one of the loudest voice on council saying it's unacceptable. We cannot have that. So we've tried. We've tried different things. The 2% increase for for solely for public safety. Of course, certainly you didn't go to the voter. But we are looking for ways. We got ways to address that. We got 2 fire stations by the end of this year, early next year, first quarter. We will have those 2 stations down south. One down south, one over on the northwest by Heritage Parkway, potentially right in the vicinity by Heritage High School. So we are addressing that. Yes, we're all a little bit behind. Jonathan said one thing that's important though. He referred to the 3% cap. That's something we must look at. That would help quite a bit because what we've seen in the last 3 years, Palm Bay grew over 20%. And that's not just because of the administration. This is something we see all over the nation. People, due to COVID, people left the Northeast and moved down here. They all stopped here. A lot.
Thank you. Okay, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna ask some more questions.
I got one back here.
Yeah, just 1 minute, let me just explain what we're doing. So we have, gonna ask another question, but we need to, you can pick one of the candidates, and that will go next in the order. If you choose, like Mr. Felix did, to answer the same question, that's gonna use up your another question from the audience. Does that make sense? Just so we get through here, because we're at 7:30 already, it's supposed to be a wrap. But yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
So this question is going to go to, if possible, Mr. Hammer and Mr. Felix. Mr. Hammer, you stated that we need experience to run like parks and recreation. My question to you would be, when we talk about sitting on a council, what experience do you have as to solving issues here in Palm Bay? In addition to that, we need programs, as you stated, for our youth here in Palm Bay through parks and recreations. How will you assist nonprofit organizations that possibly can run those programs, and what educational programs have you created or will you create? So it goes to Mr. Hammer and Mr. Felix, please.
Okay, first off, I was a city employee for 15 years. My father was a city employee for 30 years. My grandmother was a city employee for 30 years. I have been around the city while some of the biggest projects you have seen around here be done in-house. A lot of these stuff, if you look at our budget, we're spending a lot on consulting. We're spending a lot on consulting because we do not have it within. We have experience from within. We won't have to utilize so much of this consulting that we are. Now, with Parks and Rec, I'm not the biggest on Parks and Rec. I don't know how Parks and Rec operates, but I do know I have been involved with a lot of nonprofits, and the city doesn't really help us, but the county does. The county lets us use their parks. The county lets us use a lot of the facilities that we use on the nonprofit that I do. Now, whether Palm Bay lets some of the nonprofits within use theirs, I know they're allowed to use vets for Palm Bay youth, and I know Bayside is using Fred Poppy, I believe, I'm not sure. But there are also Palm Bay Youth Little League is using that. So I do believe there is a lot of things being used, but the common people can't afford it. With a lot of the sports that we're doing right now, they're not affordable. Secondly, the parents have to take 3 to 4 days off a week to go and do these. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't have it. With my son, I work from almost 5 a.m. all the way up until 5 p.m. I pick them up, I go to football practice, and I don't get home until 8:30 at night. People don't all have the ability to do that. But when you have the schools, when you have CAL, when you have a YMCA, and the city can help out with busing and little things like that, it changes and it can affect a lot. I do not know everything about Parks and Rec, I will tell you that. But I do know if we have experienced people that have encumbered issues like we're dealing with, they can help us a little more.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think Mike touched on to quite a few things. Yes, we do need to put forth creating more programs for our kids. But I must note that Mike is anti-park and recreation to the point where he referred quite a bit on too much money going to the park, too much money going to the park. Again, I'm going to bring back facts, right? I got to state the fact. I can't get away from not saying the fact. All operating budget, park is under 3%. Under 3%. Would you all agree that we need more parks? We need more recreation. The Southeast is we have nothing. So we need to invest into our park. We need to renew our park. We need to invest, make more of it. Because in the Southeast, If you're in the Southeast, Bayside golf course, the majors is gone. We hardly have anything. So we need to invest into it. Yes. Do we need to look at our priority? Yes, we need to look at our priority being public safety number one. We invest quite a bit, all operating budget, over 52%, it's all public safety, fire and police, 3% football. So when we refer to our impact fees, we don't have enough. There's a reason why it's distributed or it's distributed. So that's the disadvantage of most of my opponents don't understand or look at the budget, understand the budget. But we need to talk and have a better understanding how that works. We cannot just throw in words out. Less than 3% of our operating budget goes to park. We need a lot more. That will help all youth. We need to create more youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll give Mr. Hammer 1 minute rebuttal since your name was called.
I wouldn't say I'm anti-park. I do a lot for kids. But I will say Parks and Recreation is getting more impact fees than Police Department. Parks and Recreation is getting $1,800, Police is getting $300. Now, from what I've been told, you might be able to correct me, Parks has an extremely huge surplus. They have almost $9 million designated just for 32909. They do have a surplus, from what I've been told, and I just think we should be allocating it more correctly.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question. Please state your name and where you live.
Thank you, Terry Lee, Lindbergh Drive. I believe all the candidates speaking this evening have touched on the same point many times. Nothing for the kids to do. Just prior to the majors closing, I had the opportunity to speak with the coach of both the boys and the girls golf teams. Bayside High had teams. At the tryouts, they had so many kids tryouts for both teams, they couldn't even accommodate them all. They all didn't make the team. In addition to that, the majors also had a clinic for youth. And between the two teams and the clinics, there was 160 kids, youths, not on their computers, not on their, out in the sunshine, learning how to play golf, learning sportsmanship, learning to be the good characters. We talked a little bit about, I know the city had offered her 3 times more than what she paid for. She's absolutely not going to sell it. So at this point, why don't we do eminent domain? I understand the existing town attorney will not do that. Maybe Mr. Felix or anyone else who wants to join in, would you, if you're elected, would you get a new attorney or would you start proceedings to do eminent domain for the majors golf course?
Please pick a candidate to answer.
I don't care.
Who would like to answer that? All right, here we go.
Anybody want to do a show of hands?
Certainly, I think we should consider everything, right? I was probably one of the first council members that had a conversation with our city attorney. Ask her directly, direct question, what's our option? What's our option? Because our residents don't deserve that. People purchase their homes on the promises they purchase on the golf course. That just add a lot of values. I myself moved in for that golf course. My family member, my sister-in-law, moved right next door, Stone Pride. For, I can't remember memories with Bill, with my nephew on that golf course. That's beautiful, greenery that would be lost. So I did that question. Everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. I can tell you, I will support that if it comes to that discussion. And certainly because of eminent domain is the purpose of having, it has to serve for public use. So it's not a bridge, it's not a road but this is a discussion that is on the table. I can tell you, if it comes to it, I'll support it.
Thank you.
So
Thank
we have
you.
to save our locals.
We got a question back there? Okay, state your name and where you live.
My name's Robert Burney, I live here in Palm Bay, Cyrus Bay. This question's for Chandler. Chandler, you said you had a good relationship with the sheriff. You brought your relationship with the sheriff up. In March of 2019, you were sworn in as a deputy, and then 2 months later, you were separated from the sheriff's office. But in that, on your application, under criminal history, you self-disclosed that you had a DUI and a history of theft. But publicly, you stated you don't have a criminal history. So I was wondering if you could reconcile that for us and explain why the separation after 2 months.
Well, absolutely. That's a great question, and actually, I was really hoping that you'd ask me that. So, thank you for doing so. Yeah, a little bit about me. Like I said, I might need more than 2 minutes, but anyways, okay. I did 11 years in the Navy with a combination of reserve and active duty. After my first deployment to Afghanistan, I came home. I wanted to go back to being a reservist. Active duty was great, but I wanted to start a life here in Brevard County. I went to the police academy. I got hired by the sheriff's office. First off, I did not get let go from the sheriff's office. I got another opportunity to go active duty again. And what's sad is I asked my sergeant at the time, I said, okay, you've been in the sheriff's office for 10 years. How much do you get paid? He's like, it was basically like $10,000 more a year than what I was getting paid as a brand new deputy. And I was like, crap. And that's still less than what I was making on active duty. So unfortunately, we pay our sheriffs and our police not enough. That was a great eye-opening experience for me to be able to understand our public safety side more, which I plan on carrying over if I'm elected. So when you get hired by any law enforcement entity, whether it's Palm Bay Police, the Sheriff's Office, you go through an extensive background check, okay? They ask you, please admit, you're gonna get polygraph, right? That's part of it. So they go, we need you to admit to every wrong that you've ever done in your life. Remember, you're gonna be polygraphed, and if you fail, you don't get hired. So I sat there and I said, I'm gonna admit to everything I've ever done wrong. I've never been arrested, like some of his articles would insinuate, but I admitted to everything I could think of that I ever did wrong as a person, all the way back to my youth. Did I drink a little bit under the age of 21? Sure. Was there some times that I drove home, especially in my younger years, when I shouldn't have? Absolutely. Do I do that anymore? No, I don't. And I think the minor theft as a juvenile, I remember I took some shorts from an ROTC program because I didn't want to get a bad grade at PE that day, and I really think I cleaned them and brought them back. But again, you're going to get polygraphed. So I'm going to admit to everything on that form. So there's a little bit of controversy on it. I do appreciate you asking me that, so that we can clear that up. And I'm an open book. I'll answer any other questions.
Thank you.
Behind you.
Please state your name and where you live.
My name is Charlie. I live at 2048 Windbrook Drive on the Majors Golf Course. A couple of things. First, a statement, and I am interested in Mr. Jaffe answering one of them. In my opinion, the City Council, I've been going to them for about 4 years, just like Robert and Terry. I feel the Majors, that ship may have sailed, hopefully, but it still sticks in my throat that the City Council did absolutely nothing over and above the requirements to placate the city about helping out getting that thing fixed. That's 220 acres of prime real estate. And I gotta look at car washes, storage facilities, God only knows, all these beautiful pieces of property going to useless. I mean, how many car washes do you need in Palm Bay? There's got to be 11 of them. We don't have a restaurant. You want people to come here for a business? You can't get into Palm Bay because 95 looks like an artery filled with cholesterol. It's ridiculous. Put your money where your mouth is, do your job, and fix the problem instead of standing there checking facts and calling other people names. I went to the city council several times, and I think you know it, you've seen me here. I asked the city attorney, eminent domain, you had the right 3 years ago. You didn't do it. You guys did not do your job. And I'm hoping out of this whole group, we get some people up there that's got vision, foresight, and a set of balls to fix this goddamn country. Our country, right here. Not this crap, the city. Don't depend on anybody else. Fix it yourself. You're in charge. You want to be elected? Do your job.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You said Mike Jaffe. Did you pick Jaffe to answer
Yes,
the
sir.
question?
And Mr. Chandler, you can help too.
No, I appreciate all that. There wasn't really a question there. I guess I'll just share what I think is the appropriate answer. I was never in the staff briefings and never saw any of the stuff that was going behind city management, having to do a briefing with council. Quite honestly, I did not pay attention at the beginning a lot of what was happening in the mayor's golf course. I mentioned earlier in the domain is a possibility that I'd be willing to look at as a very, very last option. I think with anything that is related to courts is you always want to find the easier, softer way first until it gets painful enough where that only option is the hardest, most expensive way. There really hasn't been a roadmap for council to say, hey, this is what we should do. And I think it's very easy to go back in time and say, hey, we should have done this, we should have done that. I think council did the best they could with the decisions they had at the moment. I think the biggest mistakes happened back in 2016 with the previous administration. You're looking at a seller that's very unreasonable. She wants a lot of money. Should the people in Southeast off Waco benefit from Palm Bay owning a golf course, or the people in Northeast benefit from the city owning a golf course? I don't know. Those are all questions I think that all the stakeholders should be involved in, not just the residents of Bayside. I think it's extremely unfair what had happened. And we are here now, and I think it's going to be a very costly, expensive endeavor to get out of it. I don't think it's going to happen quickly. I think it's going to be a very slow process. The only thing I can promise you, if I'm on council, I'll do everything I can to make sure there's not a housing subdivision on that parcel. That's the only thing I promise.
Thank you.
All right, so first off, I forgot to say at the end of my last time speaking that I am endorsed by the sheriff. So, but to answer your question, I can't speak about why they've done what they've done in the past. I can tell you about what my plans are for the future of Palm Bay. My plan is to develop Palm Bay in a way that's going to be best to raise a family, like I've said probably 30 times up here. And that means bringing in high-paying jobs. That means bringing in things that families want to do. That means expanding our infrastructure and our public safety. So, yeah, it's a short answer, but that's the one I'm going to give.
It works. Thanks. Okay. Right here, gentlemen, please state your name and where you live.
Okay, Sheridan Keeler, live here in Palm Bay, of course. I'm going to get down and dirty. Okay, what are we going to do about all these septic tanks in the current places that we currently have sewer? They are soon to be overwhelmed with all the development. Does anybody have any idea how we're going to? We're talking about infrastructure, roads, parks, crime, but down and dirty. What are we doing? I heard grants and everything else, but has anything been started? And if not, what is your plan?
Please pick a candidate if you'd like to answer.
Well, Felix lifted his hand.
It's not what we're going to do, it's what we've done. This council, in the history of Palm Bay, have the courage. Back in December, we passed sewer, water to sewer mandate. And we don't just pass it, we set money aside, over $5 million, to help those that we will ask to connect. And we have planned, we are planning and planning more grants to help future residents. So anybody that lives on sewer, that have access to sewer and water in your street, you will get a letter if you haven't. Most of us visit in Bayside, so we don't have that problem, thank God. But anybody else that lives, mostly people that lives in the Northeast, by Turkey Creek, people that are close to the lagoon and the waterways. So those are the residents that not only we ask that, and why they didn't do it before, again, we're not going back, But it takes a lot of political courage. It wasn't easy for us to say yeah to that, but we passed it because it's the right thing to do for the future of Palm Bay, for my kids and grandkids. And I've often said, the decision I made, that's why I can sleep well at night. I'm not owned by anybody. I think I do what's right, what I think is right for Palm Bay. When the decision we make today, it's not for us, for most of us, it's for our kids and for the next generation. That's why we have to think of it carefully. This is my job is I take it very seriously. And that's why we made that decision. We passed that, and those that are already in the ground, yes, we do have 32,000 on 14 in the ground today, right? But as we extend services, the more people we have on the infrastructure, we'll be able to raise more revenue and we can extend to the rest of the city.
Thank you.
So we have to adjust.
Okay, we have some questions.
Can I answer that for the question real quick? Or no?
Oh, okay, we have someone else like to answer. Go ahead.
I hate septic systems. I just replaced one in my house, a few blocks away from sewer. The other problem is the state don't require the aerobic systems, which are very costly to install and then even more costly to maintain for service contracts. And lastly, the health department dictates the height of your building pad. So all these houses around Palm Bay that are 4, 6, 8 feet high are because the septic systems are dictated by the Broward County Health Department. The other issue is that Broward County processes on average 5,000 septic permits a year. If you equate that to revenue for the septic tank contractors, it's over $70 million. I think if there was a master plan in place for a master sewer and some sort of funding mechanism with the state of Florida to expedite sewer throughout the city of Palm Bay, that money that septic tank contractors were making, that money could then go to the city of Palm Bay and actually bill for sewer. I think it should be optional to connect upon your system's failing. I don't think you should be required to connect at any time, because if you're not connected, why should you connect? Lastly, by 2030, everyone's going to be required to update their septic systems to a more expensive system. So why not have sewer ready available? I'd rather pay the connection fee of $4, $5, $6 grand than 15, 20 grand for an aerobic system in 2030.
Good evening, my name is Sharon and I'm from Bayside Lakes. And I've made an observation on Kogan, just north of the Legion 394, land is being cleared. And would it be a good idea to put a fire station right there? It's in the hub of Publix, all the dental office, the doctor's offices, and when we get the Majors Golf Course up and running, it'll be handy for that.